people.
Well, I'm Benji, and this is my beautiful wife.
He has to say that. I'm Zoe Marshall, and we attended a life-changing She Births class before we had our baby Fox. So we chose She Births. I think it was a little bit of, it came through a few different avenues. Someone sent me a link to an article, and I know we were looking at courses and I wanted to do everything, and I was researching everything, and I knew I couldn't bring Benji, I couldn't talk him into going to all of them. And once I sent you the link, you were like...
I read the article.
And what did you say?
I like the line of thinking of the course and...
the science.
Everything.
Yeah, it was... for some reason, it was skewed a little male. Like, it was more practical. And you were like, yeah, I'll do this one.
Well, my perception of birth was very different before the course. I honestly thought what I saw in the movies and, females giving birth on their back, on the bed, was just how it went for everyone. And crazily enough, I just thought I knew. And after doing the course, geez, that changed dramatically because, wow, that's not true.
And I thought I would, before I got pregnant, I thought I'd have a C-section. I just thought I'm going to go in 210, come out 220 with a baby, be nice, easy, simple. And when I became pregnant, everything shifted for me, and I was so wanting to have this experience. And I watched the Ricky Lake doco, The Business of Being Born, and that changed everything for me. And I thought there could be real beauty and there could be real empowerment through having a baby, but I didn't know how to find that. And then when I went to She Births, I got the information. Empowered.
After the course, I actually felt really empowered. I didn't really understand how important the support partner's job is, and how much impact you can have on making the experience for Zoe better and easier. And I don't know, I just thought that she would have to do everything by herself, and at the end we get a baby.
You just sit back and have crackers.
And then after doing the course, understanding all the things, all the tools that we could use, all the parts where I could help and feel like I was contributing towards her labouring experience and giving birth experience. Like, for me, that was a way where I felt I could actually fit in and contribute and not feel like, I wish I could take some of the pain, or I wish I could carry the baby for you. It was a way for me to feel like I was actually a part of it, which was great for me.
I think the biggest thing that I took away was, first of all, I was very uninformed and uneducated to what we were about to walk into. And we were overwhelmed with so much knowledge in a positive way that we were like, wow, we can actually do this, and these are our options, and this is some different pathways to get there. And then I felt really excited, like really, really excited to go in there and give it a red hot go. Things took a different turn, but I was really excited at the time. Yeah,
I think it gave, I realised before we did the course, there were a lot of self-doubts that Zoe had about her body being able to, push a watermelon.
Well, and his head was in the 96th percentile.
It was big head,
and that was a challenge.
Yeah, but she had doubts about her body being able to do it. I think after finishing the course and on our way home, hearing her, just her chain of thought and her confidence within her body to be able to achieve that, had just done a complete 360. And for me to hear that, I was just blown away with just the power of the mind and things I could use in my life to try and help me overcome mental barriers that I thought my body couldn't achieve. And
I think there's one more thing you just reminded me of, was I love information. I love being really well informed. And I also wanted a practical to-do list every day coming up to the birth. And I got my checklist from She Births, which was what to eat, my visualizations, my exercises, what we could do together, breathing, all my practice. So I knew that I was my pelvic exercises, my perineum massage, I did everything. I was so committed. And then I thought, whatever happens now, I've done it all. Like, I've done the work, and that made me feel really...
Yeah, you're a control freak.
Yeah, but I felt good. I felt good about having all of that and then also letting it go, because there was a point where I said to Nadine, I can't stick any more evening primrose oil up my vaginas, and I can't do any more stretching. Like, I feel like I'm doing too much tampering with my vagina now. And she's like, just let it go. You've done it all.
That was the best thing. You actually let it go.
I did. I had all the tools, and then I just let it all go, and that was amazing.
I noticed it.
Yeah.
I found, for me, the biggest help was actually getting to watch a birth in the course and seeing how it actually unfolds, because like I had no idea that that's how it went. And I think the initial shock of just seeing that, the video of that birth was like, you'd think about your private parts are out, people can see your vagina or your boobs and that, but when it comes to that point, you just forget about all of that. And
I think that's really interesting what you tell people, because some younger guys that haven't experienced a birth are like, oh my God, isn't that like watching your favourite pub burn down? And you have such a great way of explaining this.
It's the opposite. It's actually, I reckon it's amazing, because, I was so against being down that end and, having to pull the baby out and stuff. And when it came down to it, like, I just felt an overwhelming sense of like, pride and, of becoming a dad, that you just forget about all that, and to see that video first and understand what an actual birth is like, the labouring process, how long it can actually take, and then seeing how the delivery happens. For me, I think I needed to see it, because
that would have been a bit shocking otherwise.
Well, it just gave me now I know what that's going to be like. I'm ready for our one.
Coming. Yeah.
So for me, that was a big positive to be able to see. And just the tools of the hip squeeze and massage. I feel like you got all the benefits.
Yeah, obviously. It was smooth sailing.
I had sore arms. I better not complain though. Yeah, we really enjoyed it.
I think it really connected us on such an incredible level going in. Like, I felt like we were finally on the same page, because I would throw books at you and links and watch this. And
there was a lot of time where you wanted everything prepared and done and all the knowledge stuff covered off, so we knew everything. And I don't feel like we got to that stage until after that course. And I remember on the drive home, we were both like...
And we were so in love.
It was like the feeling after you win a game. We were just like...
Yeah.
That's how, for me, that's how it was. Probably she wouldn't know what that's like, but...
I can imagine.
It was amazing. Like, we were ready to roll after that.
And I think we just felt just so connected. Like, we were just this team, and we both knew what we were going to do. And I just felt really relaxed in your role.
Yeah, I think because you knew I had a role to play where I had your back through all of it and had to be there to support you, which I didn't understand until the course.
And that's why it was so important.
And I think we gained like a confidence in each other where no matter what happened, we were ready.
Yeah.
And I felt that's probably the first time I felt ready was after the course.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So we had an incredible doula we worked with, and we were pretty much on the phone to her from 2 weeks up until my due date. My due date came and went. And I started to get a little bit of anxiety when it went, because I really wanted to labour naturally. I had my visualizations, I had my coconuts packed, I had everything ready for the drive. I was like, we've got this. And every day passed and the baby didn't come. And didn't come and didn't come. And the obstetrician was like, look, come in, we'll do a stretch and sweep. We went in, did 2 of those over 4 days, nothing. I ate the dates. I did all of the things. I did the primrose oil. I did the tea.
I even got your curry.
We ate the curries. We did the parmigiana. We did...
everything.
I went to acupuncture every single day for 3 weeks. Actually, it was 6 weeks, but 3 weeks every single day for acupressure, acupuncture. You did acupressure at home. my whole life was about getting this kid out. I even just said to him, look, you just come when you want to come. Like I reverse psychology'd him, and he still didn't come. I tried, and then I tried to be like, look, we're a team. You really want to do it this way. Trust me, they do it the other way. It's not going to be as fun for us. Didn't come. So 10 days came, and that was cut off. And we were actually at a barbecue with our friends who had gone to school with our obstetrician, and my obstetrician was at the barbecue, and we were both obviously going to be working together the next day having this baby. And there was a midwife that my friend had just birthed with there, and she was like, well, I'm on tomorrow, I'll just clock in and I'll be there for your birth. So we're all sitting around having a laugh, and we all knew that I was going into hospital that night and we'd all be working together tomorrow. So by midnight, they got a reading, and they could put this, it was like a suppository to bring on the labour, but it was like really, really sharp, like sharp piece of paper up your vagina, and it was really painful. And she was like, oh, if this is really painful, we're going to have some issues tomorrow. So they put that up. They said this could bring on the labour. Nothing. I was getting a little bit anxious. We went to bed. I woke up at 5 a.m. So we'd had about 4 hours sleep. 7 a.m, the doctor comes in, like, you know, with his gloves. He's like, we're ready to break the waters. We're going to rupture the membranes. So he goes, you're going to need some gas for this one. And he gets really deep, and he's doing all these things in there, and I'm sucked, and it was so painful. And he's like, look, we're going to give you a couple of hours to get into natural labour, and if it doesn't happen, we're going to have to give you the Synto, the Cytosinin, which was my worst case scenario. This was the thing worst case scenario for me. And I think being such a control freak was probably my biggest lesson in all of this, was it's not going to be what you want it to be, no matter how many visualizations you're going to do. So I called the doula, Nadine, and I said, we've done all of these things. They've given me 2 hours. Then we're going to do the Synto. And she was like, I'm on my way. You know, you can ask for more time. And the obstetrician had said, it's going to be a really long day if we keep pushing it back. You've only had 4 hours sleep. You're up at 5. We're going to give you till 9:30. It's going to get hardcore. So I was torn, because I really also, I just didn't want to do it. I surrendered to it. We got the drip right at 9:30, and then the labour started happening. And I mean, I felt like it was kind of cool for a bit. Like I was like, I can do this. This is like nice. I can feel it. And I've suffered really bad endometriosis, so that incredible pain that makes you pass out, I'm very familiar with. And so this was, you know, it was intense, but I could deal with it. And then Nadine, the doula, was like, oh, no, this is not intense. And I was like, we'll just see. And then it kind of went from like 0 to 100, like really, really quickly. So this was maybe by 11 a.m. So we'd had the Cytosinin now for an hour and a half. And I think we then ordered the TENS machine, and they brought it down. They taught us how to do it. And that was really great for a little while. And I found the best position for me, these guys really, the dog's sorry, in and out. The best position for me was the hospital bed, being up, me being on a Fitball, and then being hunched over and Benj just compressing on my back. And that felt quite good. TENS machine was on, and I could feel we were in like a nice kind of rhythm. It was really intense, but it was a nice rhythm, and I felt like we were all kind of getting the flow. And then I didn't want the TENS machine. I wanted to take off all my clothes, and Nadine was like anticipating everything I needed. So here's a coconut water. Here is ice. You need this. I'm going to rub your chest. Now I'm going to run you a bath. And I got in the bath, and it was the best feeling ever. So TENS machine was off. Benj hopped in the bath with me. And then we were in there for maybe 10 minutes? How long was it?
Not even.
I had to get out of the bath. It was the worst thing I'd ever felt in my life. It was like, I hate this. I'm wet. What the fuck's going on? Like, I need to get out of this bath. And I had to, everything was so urgent. I was trapped a little bit because I was on this drip. And so I was trying to move and I was trying to do everything, but I felt, and I was still bringing it back to the she births, right? Like the doula being there kept me really present, kept me breathing, kept me softening my face. And it was like all of us fighting this drug. It was like we were competing, like we'd get into a really great place and she'd set up all of these amazing stations around the room and I'd feel really beautiful, but I'd feel like I'm moving through it and then I'd feel completely out of control again and in a really dark place. And I remember, because it was just so beautiful, she'd set up this shrine because my mum had passed. This beautiful picture of my mum, and Benj had gone down and gotten these gorgeous red roses, and we'd had a blessing way, and all of my beautiful girlfriends had made this necklace for me with beads, and I'd had all this stuff and I just felt so loved and amazing, and I had this incredible music playing. So I had real moments of like, this is happening, and I got my husband and he was there through every contraction, and the doula's there feeding me ice chips, and I felt so loved. And then I'd feel like dragged into this hell, and I just wanted a minute of rest because I was really tired from having 4 hours sleep and all of the other things being tampered with, and then this induction. I'd gotten onto the bed and I was, because they can lean up, I was over the bed and I just wailed and wailed and wailed and cried, and I felt beaten. I felt like it had won, and I think it was only, 3 hours in at that point? Was it lunch? Maybe 4 hours in. Anyway, we kept moving around the room and I kept just trying, and I said to Nadine, I don't know if I can do this. She was like, it's okay, I'm going to move you, we're going to go do this. And she was really trying to distract me, and I think Benj was starting to like catch on that he didn't know if he needed to intervene with Nadine and go like, she's not okay.
To put things in perspective, like we had a plan beforehand that if it got too far, she had a safe word with Nadine that was for epidural, but she didn't want to say the word epidural, and we weren't allowed to use the word pain. So instead of saying pain, we had to say intensity, and that was the whole room. So the midwives.
And they weren't allowed to offer me drugs.
No one was allowed.
There was no talk of that.
So Zoe committed to that. She would have three
tries of the safe word.
The safe word was tap out, like when you get choked out and you tap out.
In wrestling.
So she said 3 times, and I swear by 6 o'clock she'd asked about 8 times. Yeah, so she went to the bathroom and I looked at the midwife and I looked at Nadine and I said, honestly, I know her, like it's almost time to call it. And she goes, oh, when she comes back in, we'll just check how dilated she is and
we'll make a call. And I was 3 centimeters after 10 hours, and it was just like...
You went from 2 centimeters to 3 centimeters.
In like 7 hours or something. Just to mind you, the shit show wasn't literally, it was a we. I just wanted to reframe that.
Doesn't matter.
Anyway, so at that point, we were back on the floor and I just said, I need the epidural. And I think the midwife, she was so gorgeous. She was like, are we all on board with the epidural? And I was like, F everybody and your feelings. I am having the epidural. And she was like, okay, we're going to go get the epidural. But it was also pushing through these thresholds of myself that I never, ever thought that I would be able to.
I didn't think either.
Go through. And I do think the knowledge of the course and bringing back in all of that information just buffers and supports you through those really horrific moments. And then, and the other thing was, I really loved, there was a moment in the course where we watched this woman decide to have an epidural and felt really empowered about having an epidural. And I loved that moment, because that gave me permission to feel empowered about having an epidural and to go, you know what, this is my choice, my body, my birthing experience, and I'm going to feel empowered to ask for this, to give myself relief. And I had complete peace around that. So when that happened, they said, have a little rest, have a little lie down. And I started feeling immense pressure. Like I was laying down, but there was a lot of pressure. And something didn't feel normal, or whatever that means. And I called the midwife in. She said, we're going to leave you for an hour and a half and just see what happens. 40 minutes, I called her in and she said, I'm just going to check and see how far dilated you are. And this is the moment I said to Benj, they're going to take me for a C-section. She's going to tell me it's time. And I knew that I'd have to reframe myself to feel empowered to go into that next part. And she said, you're not going to believe it. This baby's ready. You're fully dilated. We're going. It's now.
That was probably the moment of relief, I think.
we
were both convinced that it was going to be cesarean, just judged off like that 7-hour period where you'd gone from 2 centimetres to 3 centimetres dilated, and then after you had the epidural going fully dilated, we just both were like...
I just opened. I think just having that pain reduced, just let everything open. And then I needed, because it was so quick, I needed to get my head around pushing the baby out, because that had been really intense. And the doc was in the room. All of a sudden, I was just like, I just need to get into
well, let's have a practice of how you're going to push. And he's like, no, practice, we're going now. Let's go.
This baby needs to come out now, because its heartbeat had started to drop and it was a bit irregular. Yeah. And I said to him, how long is the average, like, pushing? He's like, about an hour and a half. And I was like...
No, he said you got half an hour, otherwise I'm going to have to, like, intervene and get
But he didn't
help.
say that to me. He said that to you. And so I just knew I had every...
Yeah, then I told you that.
Yeah, and I had every... It was time, and I got everything I could in my power to make this happen. And you said I look like the Hulk.
Yeah.
Right?
And veins and... Yeah.
And the thing that was awesome about the epidural was it was so light, I could feel my legs and I could feel contractions and I could feel sensations. So I didn't feel detached from my body, which was really important to me. And we were all there. Nadine the doula, Christina the amazing midwife, Chris the obstetrician and you. And we were this epic team. And I felt so supported and everyone like rallied around, and you were like in coaching mode, like getting me there. And we did it. We did it in 25 minutes. We pushed him out, and
I pulled him out. But...
You pulled him out, and they wanted to hold. They were like, wait, Benji, wait, come. And I was like, there's no waiting. And you got to get him from underneath his arms and pull him out of my body. And it was amazing. Birth is about breaking different parts of yourself down, and I really wanted to experience birth in every aspect.
And you did.
And I wanted to push myself, and that's my experience. You know, there were girls...
And we felt great about that.
We did.
Like, we obviously didn't have a choice on some of the directions, but I think the position you put yourself in mentally going into the birth, that, you know, you'd done all the work on knowing the information, and then when it come time to make your choices, you were proud of those and happy with the way it turned out because you could accept that.
Yeah. And I think it was so funny, before going into the birth, my biggest fear was tearing. That's why I did so much work on the perineum and the evening primrose oil up the vagina. And then I ended up getting an episiotomy. So it was just like this beautiful lesson. The whole thing was this beautiful lesson in, this isn't my way, you know, this is however this baby wants to come into the world is how it's going to come in. So,
and the things we learned from the courses, you have to let go.
Yeah. And you also can have a beautiful birth no matter what is thrown at you. And I think that was the point, was Pitocin was my worst case scenario, and I still had an incredibly beautiful birth.